Did you know one of cricket's biggest stars simply vanished at the peak of his career? That's right. Connie Hooper, the man who could make a cricket ball dance to his command, shocked the world when he walked away from fame, fortune, and glory all at once. Why would anyone give up everything when they're at the top? The answer will stun you. Today we reveal what really happened to Connie Hooper, the untold story of the man who turned his back on superstardom, the shocking reason behind his disappearance, and the incredible new chapter he wrote for himself when everyone thought his story was over. Get ready for the truth behind cricket's most mysterious exit, and the surprising life that followed. Before we jump into this amazing story, make sure you join our cricket family. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now. We bring you stories about cricket's most fascinating players every week, and trust me, what you're about to learn about Connie Hooper will completely change how you see this West Indies legend. Caribbean cricket in the 1990s was a world of fading glory and amazing individual talent. The mighty West Indies team that once ruled world cricket was starting to decline. And right in the middle of this changing scene was Connie Llewellyn Hooper, born in Georgetown, Guyana on December 15, 1966. Hooper was probably the most naturally gifted all-rounder of his generation. When he held a bat, he moved with such smooth grace that even the hardest shots looked easy. As a bowler, his off-spin had clever variations that tricked batsmen worldwide. But for all his obvious talent, Hooper's career has always raised questions. Why would a man with over 5,000 test runs and nearly 200 wickets suddenly walk away from international cricket while still in his prime? What personal struggles led him to leave? And what happened to Connie Hooper after he stepped out of cricket's spotlight? Today we'll follow the amazing journey of a man whose story goes way beyond cricket stats. From his early days as a teenage wonder in Guyana to his sudden disappearance from international cricket, from his surprising comeback to his life today as a husband, father, coach and someone who helps others. This is the complete story of Connie Hooper, a tale of incredible talent, personal challenges, family love and ultimate redemption. Our story starts in Georgetown, Guyana, a place where cricket isn't just a sport but a way of life. Young Connie grew up in a simple home, but he had an amazing gift that people noticed early on. Cricket was in his blood from day one. On the dusty streets of Georgetown, locals would stop and stare as the young boy showed timing and technique that players twice his age couldn't match. By his teenage years, everyone knew Hooper was special. At just 19, he played his first professional match for Guyana, showing the kind of skill that made people take notice. Within a year he got the call to join the West Indies team, and in February 1987, at age 20, Connie Hooper stepped onto the international stage in a one-day match against New Zealand. People who saw him in those early days talk about a player who seemed born to play cricket. Former West Indies fast bowler Colin Croft once said, "Connie had this gift. He made batting look like poetry. There was never any rush, never any panic. Time seemed to slow down when he was at the crease." He soon made his test debut against India in Mumbai. Though he didn't score many runs in that first match, the cricket world saw something special. Here was a player who could bat beautifully, bowl effectively, and field brilliantly. Cricket rarely produces such complete players. The late 1980s saw Hooper become a fixture in the West Indies team. Playing alongside legends like Viv Richards, Gordon Greenidge, and Malcolm Marshall, he was seen as the bridge to the next generation. The player who would carry West Indies cricket forward as the great team of the 70s and 80s gradually disbanded. But even in these early days, people whispered about Hooper's attitude. Despite his obvious talent, there were matches where he seemed distant, almost disconnected from the intense competition. It was like part of him remained detached, unwilling to fully commit to the cutthroat world of professional sport. These early signs of a complex personality would later explain the decisions that left the cricket world stunned. As the 1990s dawned, Connie Hooper had developed into one of the most complete cricketers in the world. His batting had reached new heights, combining classical technique with the power to dispatch the ball to all parts of the ground. His bowling had evolved from useful to genuinely threatening, with subtle variations that could undo even the most accomplished batsman. The statistics began to reflect his growing stature. In the 1993-94 season, he scored his first Test double century, an imperious 233 against India in Guyana. The innings was a masterclass in batting, lasting nearly 10 hours, and containing 23 boundaries, and 2 sixes. It was the kind of performance that left no doubt about his ability to dominate at the highest level. But perhaps the most revealing aspect of Hooper's rise was the way other cricketers spoke about him. Australian captain Mark Taylor, not one for excessive praise, called him possibly the most naturally gifted cricketer I've seen. Former England captain Nasser Hussain went further, saying on his day Carl Hooper was simply unplayable. He had shots that other batsmen couldn't even imagine. What made Hooper special wasn't just his skill but his style. In an era when cricket was becoming increasingly aggressive and confrontational, he remained an oasis of calm. There was something almost regal about the way he played, a languid grace that harked back to a more dignified age of cricket. By the mid-1990s, Hooper had become the backbone of the West Indies middle order. His statistics were impressive, a Test average hovering around 40, over 100 wickets, and a reputation as one of the finest slip fielders in the game. But numbers never told the full story with Hooper. It was the way he constructed innings, the impossible catches he would pluck from the air, the crucial breakthroughs with the ball. These were the elements that made him irreplaceable. Yet for all his success, something seemed to be gnawing at Carl Hooper. Team insiders began to notice periods of introspection, times when the usually composed all-rounder seemed preoccupied with matters beyond cricket. In a team environment where focus was everything, these moments of apparent distraction raised eyebrows. What few people knew was that Hooper was increasingly torn between his cricketing responsibilities and his desire for a more normal, grounded life. The constant travel, the relentless pressure, the perpetual scrutiny, these were taking a toll on a man who, despite his public profile, was intensely private by nature. As the West Indies team continued its gradual decline from the heights of world domination, the pressure on senior players like Hooper intensified. He was no longer just a talented member of a successful team. He was now expected to be a leader, to carry the hopes of a cricketing region desperate for success. It was a responsibility that would test his resolve and ultimately lead to one of cricket's most surprising disappearing acts. November 1999. The cricketing world is stunned by an announcement that seems to come out of nowhere. Carl Hooper, aged just 32 and seemingly at the peak of his powers, declares his immediate retirement from international cricket. There is no farewell tour, no emotional send-off, no gradual transition. Just a simple statement that sends shockwaves through the sport. The timing couldn't have been more perplexing. Hooper was averaging over 45 with the bat in the preceding 2 years, the best numbers of his career. His bowling remained effective, and with several years of cricket potentially ahead of him, the decision seemed inexplicable. The cricket media scrambled for explanations. Some speculated about hidden injuries, others about disputes with cricket authorities. The more sensationalist corners of the press hinted at personal problems or financial difficulties. But the truth, as is often the case, was both simpler and more complex than the rumors suggested. After years of living the nomadic life of an international cricketer, Carl Hooper had fallen in love. Her name was Shivani, an Australian of Indian descent, and for the intensely private Hooper, this relationship had become more important than cricket glory. He had made the extraordinary decision to walk away from fame and fortune for the chance at a normal family life in Australia. In rare interviews given years later, Hooper would explain, "Cricket had given me everything, but it had also taken a lot. I was tired of hotels and airports, tired of being Carl Hooper the cricketer instead of just Carl. With Shivani, I saw a chance for something different, something real." The cricket authorities were blindsided. Teammates were shocked. Fans were devastated. The West Indies had lost not just a fantastic player but a potential captain and leader during a period of transition. The team's performances, already in decline, suffered further without Hooper's steady influence. What made the decision even more remarkable was that Hooper walked away without securing lucrative commentary deals or coaching positions. He simply disappeared from public view, settling into suburban life in Adelaide with Shivani. For a man who had spent his entire adult life in the spotlight, the adjustment to anonymity was both challenging and liberating. Those first few months were strange, he would later recall, waking up without cricket practice to go to, watching matches on TV instead of playing in them. But there was also this sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. While the cricket world moved on, with new stars emerging and old narratives fading, Hooper was building something different. He and Shivani, married in a private ceremony, far from the media glare that had followed him throughout his career. They started planning for children, for a future that had nothing to do with cover drives or doosaras. But cricket has a way of pulling back its own. And for Carl Hooper, the story was far from over. The game he had walked away from would soon come calling again, offering an opportunity for one of the most unexpected comebacks in cricket history. Away from the pressure cooker environment of international cricket, Carl Hooper began to build a life with Shivani that few could have envisioned for the former West Indies star. Their home in Adelaide became a sanctuary, a place where he wasn't defined by cricket statistics or public expectations. For someone who had lived out of suitcases for the better part of 15 years, the routine of domestic life held a novel appeal. Simple pleasures like grocery shopping, home cooking, and weekend drives became the highlights of a calendar once dominated by test matches and one-day internationals. Shivani, herself a successful professional working in financial services, brought stability and perspective to Hooper's life. Having not grown up in the cricket-obsessed Caribbean, she related to Carl the person, not Carl the cricketing icon. This dynamic proved transformative for a man who had spent his entire adult life being evaluated based on his latest performance. Shivani taught me that there was more to life than cricket, Hooper would later reflect. That sounds like a simple lesson, but when you've been in that bubble since you were a teenager, it's actually quite profound. The couple's joy was multiplied with the birth of their first child, a son they named Carl Jr. Becoming a father awakened something new in Hooper, a sense of purpose and responsibility that transcended anything he had felt on the cricket field. Teammates who had known him as the cool, sometimes detached professional were surprised by stories of the doting dad who spent hours playing with his son. A daughter, Melissa, followed 2 years later, completing their family. For Hooper, fatherhood brought a fulfillment that cricket, for all its glories, never quite provided. The man who had once held the hopes of Caribbean cricket now found himself happily changing diapers and reading bedtime stories. Life in Australia afforded the Hoopers a privacy that would have been impossible in Guyana or elsewhere in the West Indies. They could visit parks, attend school functions, and go shopping without the constant interruptions that come with celebrity. This normality was precisely what Hooper had sought when he made his dramatic exit from cricket. Yet as content as he was in his new life, there remained an undeniable connection to the game that had been his first love. He would watch West Indies matches on television, offering insights to Shivani about field placements and batting techniques. Sometimes when the family visited local parks, he would unconsciously pick up sticks and mimic his famous cover drive, much to the amusement of his children. It was during this period of domestic contentment that Hooper received the call that would draw him back into the world he had left behind. The West Indies, struggling more than ever and desperate for experience and leadership, wanted to know if the door to his return was completely closed. The question forced Hooper to confront whether his cricket story was truly finished or merely paused. The decision he would make, with Shivani's full support, would lead to one of cricket's most remarkable second acts, a comeback that would challenge conventional wisdom about athletes and retirement. Cricket has seen many comebacks over the years, but few as surprising or as successful as Carl Hooper's return to international cricket in 2001. After 18 months away from the game, an eternity in professional sports, Hooper not only returned to the West Indies team, but did so as captain, tasked with rebuilding a side that had fallen far from its glory days. The catalyst for this extraordinary return was a phone call from the West Indies Cricket Board. The team was in disarray, lacking leadership and experience. They needed someone who commanded respect, someone who understood West Indies cricket culture, someone who could mentor the next generation. In short, they needed Carl Hooper. For a man who had found contentment away from cricket's pressures, the decision wasn't straightforward. Long conversations with Shivani followed, weighing the demands of international cricket against their settled family life. Eventually, they reached a compromise. Hooper would return, but on terms that allowed him to prioritize his family. "I couldn't have done it without Shivani's blessing," Hooper would later say. "She understood that there was unfinished business, that maybe I needed this final chapter to truly be at peace with cricket." His return to the team was nothing short of sensational. In his first series back, against South Africa, he scored a century and took wickets, showing that his skills remained intact despite the layoff. More importantly, he brought a calm authority to a team that had been lacking direction. As captain, Hooper revealed dimensions to his personality that had rarely been seen before. Always thoughtful, he now showed himself to be an articulate leader with clear ideas about how West Indies cricket could regain respect, if not dominance. Young players spoke of his willingness to share knowledge, to take time after practice sessions to discuss technique and strategy. The statistics from this second phase of his career tell a remarkable story. Between 2001 and 2003, Hooper averaged over 45 in Test cricket, better than his career average before retirement. He scored centuries against India, Australia, and England, proving that his class remained permanent, despite the temporary interruption. Perhaps the most telling aspect of Hooper's comeback was how he integrated his family life with his cricketing commitments. Unlike before, when cricket consumed everything, he now made time for video calls with his children before matches. Sometimes, when schedules permitted, Shivani and the kids would travel to watch him play, creating memories that bridged his two worlds. The comeback reached its apex during the 2003 World Cup in South Africa. Though the West Indies didn't progress as far as hoped, Hooper's dignity in defeat and gracious leadership earned plaudits from around the cricketing world. He had returned to the game not just as a player, but as an elder statesman, respected for both his skill and his character. However, all good things must end, and following the World Cup disappointment, Hooper faced the reality that at 36, his body could no longer withstand the rigors of international cricket. This time, his retirement came with proper recognition, a testimonial match in Guyana, where fans could properly bid farewell to a favorite son. The difference between his first and second retirements couldn't have been more stark. In 1999, he had slipped away almost apologetically. In 2003, he walked off the field to a standing ovation, having given West Indies cricket everything he had left to give. More importantly, he retired on his own terms, with no regrets and no unfinished business. With his playing days behind him, Carl Hooper might have been expected to retreat once more into private life. Instead, he embarked on a new chapter that would allow him to give back to the game that had given him so much. This time, however, he would do so with the balance between cricket and family that had eluded him during his playing career. His transition to coaching began organically, with informal mentoring sessions for young players in Adelaide. Word spread quickly about the former West Indies captain, who was generous with his time and knowledge, and soon more formal opportunities emerged. Local clubs sought his expertise, followed by offers from cricket academies. "Coaching gave me a different perspective on cricket," Hooper explained in a rare interview. "As a player, you're focused on your own performance. As a coach, you're trying to unlock potential in others. It's challenging, but incredibly rewarding when you see a young player improve because of something you've taught them." His coaching philosophy reflected the man himself, technically sound but never rigid, emphasizing the mental aspects of cricket as much as the physical skills. Players under his guidance spoke of learning not just how to play better cricket, but how to think better cricket. In 2011, Hooper took on perhaps his most significant coaching role when he returned to Guyana as their technical director. The homecoming was emotional, with many locals seeing it as the closing of a circle. The boy who had left Georgetown to conquer the cricketing world had returned to help nurture the next generation of Guyanese talent. His impact was immediate. Several young players who came under his wing would go on to represent the West Indies, including Shimron Hetmyer and Kemo Paul. More than specific techniques, Hooper instilled in these youngsters a professional mindset that had sometimes been lacking in Caribbean cricket. Beyond formal coaching roles, Hooper became an influential voice in discussions about West Indies cricket's future. Unlike some former players who criticized from a distance, he offered constructive insights based on his experiences both within the West Indies system and in Australian cricket, which he had observed during his time living there. When asked about his cricket legacy, Hooper typically deflects with humility. "Statistics are for others to judge," he once said. "I just tried to play the game the right way, to respect its traditions while still expressing myself." But those statistics tell a remarkable story: over 5,700 test runs, 300+ wickets, one of only 4 players in history with 5,000 runs and 100 wickets in both Test and ODI cricket, numbers that place him firmly among cricket's elite all-rounders. Perhaps the most telling aspect of Hooper's cricket legacy, however, is the way fellow professionals speak about him. Brian Lara, arguably the greatest batsman of his generation, called Hooper the most naturally gifted cricketer I played with. High praise indeed from a man who knew a thing or two about batting. Australian great Shane Warne, never one to praise opponents lightly, described Hooper as one of the toughest batsmen to bowl to. "He seemed to have so much time, like he knew what I was going to bowl before I did." These testimonials, from peers who understood the game at its highest level, confirm what statistics alone cannot capture, that Carl Hooper possessed a rare cricket intelligence, a gift for the game that transcended mere technique or physical ability. Beyond the boundary ropes and coaching manuals, Carl Hooper has channeled his energy and influence into meaningful philanthropic work that has touched countless lives across the Caribbean. While many sports stars attach their names to charitable causes, Hooper's approach has been characteristically thoughtful and hands-on. The Carl Hooper Foundation, established in 2007, focuses on providing cricket equipment and coaching to underprivileged children in Guyana and across the West Indies. The foundation's mission reflects Hooper's understanding that talent alone is not enough. Opportunity and proper support are essential for young cricketers to develop. "I was fortunate that people believed in me and gave me chances when I was young," Hooper has explained. "Not every talented kid gets those same opportunities. We're trying to level the playing field, so to speak." What distinguishes the foundation is its holistic approach. Beyond cricket gear and coaching, it emphasizes education, offering scholarships to promising student athletes who maintain good academic standing. This reflects Hooper's belief, shaped by his own life experiences, that cricket careers are finite, but education endures. Perhaps the most touching aspect of Hooper's philanthropic work has been his personal involvement. Despite his naturally reserved nature, he regularly attends foundation events, spending time with young cricketers, sharing stories and tips, and showing genuine interest in their development both as athletes and as people. The foundation's annual cricket camp in Georgetown has become a highlight of the Guyanese sporting calendar. For 1 week each year, hundreds of children receive top-level coaching, not just from local coaches, but often from Hooper himself and other former West Indies players he persuades to volunteer their time. Beyond cricket, Hooper has been involved in disaster relief efforts, following hurricanes and flooding in the Caribbean region. After Hurricane Maria devastated Dominica in 2017, He was among the first to organize fundraising events in Australia, leveraging his connections in both cricketing worlds to channel support where it was most needed. His philanthropic efforts extend to healthcare initiatives as well. After losing a close family member to diabetes, a condition that affects a disproportionate number of Caribbean people, Hooper became an advocate for diabetes awareness and prevention programs. He has participated in fundraising walks, spoken at health forums, and used his platform to encourage regular health checkups. What makes these contributions particularly meaningful is that Hooper conducts them without seeking publicity. Many of his charitable actions come to light only through the accounts of beneficiaries or foundation partners. This approach aligns perfectly with his character: substance over show, impact over image. For the children and communities touched by these initiatives, Hooper represents something powerful: a local boy who achieved international success, but never forgot his roots. His presence in their schools and cricket grounds carries a simple but profound message that their dreams too are valid and achievable. Through these philanthropic endeavors, Carl Hooper has created a legacy that transcends cricket statistics and match victories. He has demonstrated that a true champion's impact extends far beyond their playing days, reaching into the lives of future generations in ways that no scorecard could ever capture. Today at 58, Carl Hooper has crafted a life that beautifully balances his cricketing passions with his primary commitment to family. Splitting his time between Adelaide, Australia, and Georgetown, Guyana, the Hooper family has created a unique transcontinental lifestyle that honors both their Caribbean roots and their Australian home. The family's Adelaide residence, a spacious but understated home in a leafy suburb, serves as their primary base. Here, away from the intense cricket spotlight that still shines in the West Indies, Hooper enjoys a degree of anonymity that would be impossible in Guyana. Neighbors know him not as the cricket legend, but as the friendly, quiet family man who coaches local youth teams on weekends. Shivani continues her successful career in financial consulting, having built a reputation as an expert in her field entirely separate from her husband's sporting fame. Their partnership exemplifies mutual support, with each having carved out professional identities while maintaining a strong family unit. Their children, now young adults, have grown up with feet in two worlds. Carl Jr., now 23, inherited his father's sporting genes, but chose a different path, pursuing a career in sports medicine after completing his university studies. Melissa, 21, has shown an entrepreneurial spirit, launching a small sustainable fashion business while completing her business degree. Neither child has sought to capitalize on their famous surname, a reflection of the values Hooper and Shivani instilled in them: work ethic, humility, and the understanding that respect is earned, not inherited. They've always been Carl's kids, but we wanted them to forge their own identities, Shivani once explained in a rare family interview. 3 months of each year are spent in Guyana, coinciding with Hooper's coaching commitments and foundation work. These visits have taken on a special significance as the children have grown older, allowing them to connect with their Caribbean heritage and extended family. During these periods, the Hoopers open their Georgetown home for family gatherings that bridge generations and continents. Despite his natural reserve, Hooper has developed a small circle of close friends from both his cricketing days and his life in Australia. Former teammates like Jimmy Adams and Ian Bishop remain in regular contact, while in Adelaide, his friendships tend to come from outside the sporting world: local business owners, neighbors, and parents from his children's schools. His daily routine reflects a man at peace with himself. Early mornings often find him walking along Adelaide's beaches, a habit he developed after retirement to maintain fitness without the strain of intense training. He still plays cricket occasionally in local veterans leagues, his touch and timing remarkably preserved despite the passing years. Technology has allowed Hooper to maintain his cricket connections worldwide. He participates in online coaching sessions with promising young players in the Caribbean, exchanges text messages with former teammates after noteworthy West Indies performances, and occasionally contributes to cricket podcasts, though he still avoids the more intrusive forms of media attention. What strikes those who encounter Hooper today is his contentment. The restlessness that once led him to walk away from cricket at his peak has been replaced by a serene satisfaction with the life he has built. "I've been fortunate to have two great loves in my life," he told a Guyanese newspaper during a recent visit. "Cricket gave me a platform and experiences I never dreamed of as a boy in Georgetown. But family, that's what gives meaning to everything else." In a sporting world, often characterized by post-career struggles, financial difficulties, identity crises, the challenge of replacing the adrenaline of competition, Carl Hooper stands as a model of successful transition. He has managed what many athletes find impossible: to honor his sporting past while building a fulfilling present that doesn't depend on former glories. To understand Carl Hooper's true legacy in cricket, one must look beyond the impressive statistics, beyond even his remarkable comeback. His impact on the game exists in more subtle dimensions, in the way he played, the values he embodied, and the paths he helped forge for future generations of cricketers. Stylistically, Hooper represented a bridge between eras. His batting combined classical West Indian elegance with modern power and adaptability. While contemporaries like Brian Lara often dominated headlines with their flamboyance, Hooper's more understated excellence provided the team with a different kind of backbone: reliable, technically impeccable, and capable of adjusting to any condition or opposition. His decision to temporarily step away from cricket at his peak, though controversial at the time, has gained retrospective appreciation as a pioneering move for athletes' mental health and work-life balance. In an era before such concepts were openly discussed in sporting circles, Hooper had the courage to prioritize personal fulfillment over professional expectations. "What Carl did was almost unthinkable back then," reflects former England captain Nasser Hussain. "Today we understand the importance of mental well-being for athletes, but 20 years ago, to walk away for family reasons took incredible strength." He was ahead of his time in that respect. Indeed, Hooper's example has since been followed by numerous cricketers who have taken breaks from the game to address burnout or family needs. His story is now cited in discussions about sustainable careers in an increasingly demanding sporting calendar. As one of the first high-profile Caribbean cricketers to establish strong connections with Australian cricket, Hooper also helped build bridges between these two great cricketing cultures. The knowledge exchange that resulted has benefited both nations, with coaching methods, training techniques, and professional standards flowing in both directions. For West Indies cricket specifically, Hooper's legacy is complex but ultimately positive. His departure in 1999 initially seemed like another blow to a declining cricket power, yet his return as captain in 2001 provided critical stability during a turbulent period. More importantly, the dignified way he conducted himself set a standard of professionalism for younger players to aspire to. Today's West Indies stars like Jason Holder have cited Hooper as an influence, not just technically, but in terms of approach and attitude. "Carl showed us that you can be Caribbean in your cricket style, but international in your cricket thinking," Holder once observed. That's a powerful lesson. Perhaps Hooper's most significant legacy, however, is the example he sets for life after cricket. In a region where former players have sometimes struggled to find purpose once the cheering stops, his successful transition to coaching, philanthropy, and family life offers an alternative narrative. Cricket historians and analysts continue to debate Hooper's place in the game's pantheon. Some point to his averages, good but not stratospheric, and suggest he never quite fulfilled his enormous potential. Others argue that such metrics fail to capture his all-round contribution and the intangible value he brought to his teams. What's beyond debate is the respect he commands from those who played with and against him. When legends of the game gather, Hooper's name is spoken with a reverence reserved for players who mastered cricket's subtleties and mysteries, not just its statistics. In the final analysis, Carl Hooper's legacy transcends conventional cricketing measures. He showed that a cricket career can be part of a well-lived life, rather than its defining feature. He demonstrated that walking away can sometimes be as courageous as playing on, and he proved that second chances, when embraced with wisdom and gratitude, can yield rewards far beyond sporting glory. We began this journey by asking what happened to Carl Hooper, the gifted all-rounder whose career took unexpected turns. What we've discovered is a story far richer than cricket statistics could ever convey. From the streets of Georgetown to the test arenas of the world, from a surprising retirement to a triumphant comeback, from cricket captain to family man and philanthropist, Carl Hooper's life unfolds as a masterclass in following one's own path, regardless of conventional expectations. In a sporting world, often defined by single-minded pursuit of glory, Hooper dared to seek balance. In doing so, he not only found personal fulfillment, but ultimately gave more back to cricket than if he had followed a more traditional career trajectory. His story challenges us to reconsider what success truly means, not just in sports but in life. Today, as he moves between his Australian home and his Guyanese roots, Hooper embodies the lessons of his remarkable journey, that talent brings responsibility, that fame is fleeting but impact can be lasting, that walking away from something you love can sometimes be the path to finding something even more meaningful. For a new generation of cricket fans, who may know the name but not the full story, Carl Hooper stands as a reminder that beyond the boundaries, and behind the statistics are human beings making difficult choices, seeking purpose, and ultimately striving to leave the world a little better than they found it. If you enjoyed learning about Carl Hooper's amazing journey, then you're exactly the kind of thoughtful cricket fan our channel is made for. Hit that subscribe button right now and join our community of cricket lovers who appreciate the human stories behind the sporting achievements. Leave a comment below sharing your favorite Carl Hooper memory, or what surprised you most about his story. And if you know someone who remembers the elegant batting and clever bowling of the Super Cat, share this video with them. It might start some great cricket conversations. Until next time, remember that the best sports stories are always about more than just the sport itself. They're about how people can grow, bounce back, and reinvent themselves, just like Carl Hooper did throughout his journey from cricket star to the balanced and meaningful life he leads today.